Welcome back. There is much anticipation ahead of the announcement of numbers from the recently concluded tiger census. Is it good news or bad for India's national animal? But there are those who question the very methods being used for the tiger headcount. Maya Sharma reports.
How do you count the elusive tiger, the mysterious king of the Indian jungle? The tiger census is meant to let us know about the numbers of this endangered animal. But are the right counting methods being used?
I think coming up with a countrywide estimate for tigers is a very, very dubious enterprise. It's difficult given even the best of science. The various methods for counting tigers adopted in India, for 25 years we followed this so-called bug mark census, which was not science. It was almost black magic. So they had these numbers. So the good thing is Tiger Task Force appointed by the Prime Minister said you stop the pug mark census, and then they asked the Wildlife Institute to come up with this new approach which they call the National Tiger Estimation. Broadly, this method involved camera trapping tigers in very small pockets across the country and extrapolating that data across the country. The other thing that is a little worrisome is how the extrapolation is done is not very explicitly put out. Even to this day from the last census, how these estimates from parks are extended to wider areas is not explained clearly.
Karanth has suggestions as to how matters could improve.
Because tigers have high death rates and high birth rates, we have to monitor source populations every year. If you do an estimation of this kind once in 3 or 4 years, it does not address the key question of taking care of this patient who is in intensive care. So the monitoring has to be annual. Secondly, I think the camera trap monitoring of source populations have to be much more intensive than what has been done so far. And perhaps the extrapolation also could use some better approaches. But we really need to move on. I would recommend very strongly more intensive camera trapping of source populations, and where cameras cannot be used, we can actually count them using DNA extracted from their droppings. So a combination of these two techniques.
But in the midst of fears over the disappearance of the wild tiger, Karanth strikes a note of optimism.
I have looked very closely at one population in the state of Karnataka. Certainly the population has gone down, and in fact I think in places like Bhadra the numbers are rebounding. This population is doing reasonably well because of the good work the government has done, the NGOs have done. So I'm not a pessimist on the tiger. Regardless of what these numbers say, I think India will have wild tigers and they will do well in some places.
We may never know the exact number of wild tigers in India, but the hope is crystal clear. May their tribe increase. Maya Sharma in Bangalore for NDTV.
NDTV's cricket app. Android and iPhone. Fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.